Monday on Daily Delivery. I'm Michael Rand, Patrick Reusse here with me. I've got my iced coffee. Patrick, you got your Diet Coke. We're ready to go to
I
talk
do.
about the victorious. What an embarrassment of riches we have here, isn't it, in the
It
sports
was
world?
quite a Sunday after we were really in panic about the Twinks. They finally won a game. And then, of
Yeah.
course, the Vikings beat the San Francisco 49ers and with a pretty dang good performance by Sam Darnold and everybody else. And then the Lynx go out and drill the Liberty, who were what, had only lost 6 games all year or
Yeah.
something. So yeah, it was a festive Sunday in Minnesota sports, that's for sure.
Got to start with the Vikings as we get into specifics here. Like you said, Sam Darnold, he made a couple iffy throws in the red zone. One of them picked off. One of them maybe lucky it didn't get picked off. But overall, giving them far more than I would have expected at this point. Sam throws a nice deep ball. That 97-yarder to Justin Jefferson
Yeah,
was about as
beautiful.
good as you can get with the deep ball.
I saw Randall. Not Rand, Craig said it was in the air 55 yards, so
Yeah.
it was 55 yards and dropped in his arms, and it was a pretty gutsy call by Coach O'Connell too to throw that deep from put your quarterback in the end zone with that pass rush of them, and he had to hold it a little while with a guy to get that deep. But he's a Darnold's a pretty good athlete. He runs a little better than I thought.
Yes.
He had an 18-yard scramble, a 16-yard scramble. And, he made one throw that kind of put them back in the game, but San Francisco in the game. But more than anything, the defense was fantastic. Man,
Yes.
they are physical. They come at you. And, by not paying Hunter, they've ended up with about 3 pass rushers on the outside that they wouldn't have been able to afford.
Yes.
And they just got more weapons. They managed to bring in those 2 of those crusty old cornerbacks, so they got a veteran crew there. They got plenty of safeties, and they're defensively, wow. And I don't think anybody taps Flores on the shoulder and tells him what he should do either. Do you? I mean,
Nope.
it looks like an independent operation to me. O'Connell, I wonder if O'Connell even walks into the defensive room to say hello once in a while, because it's obviously Flores' operation. And man, they've been fantastic the first 2 weeks, and they were fantastic against the 49ers. Just when I was changing my mind on Brock Purdy, they made him look like a stiff yesterday. So. With a big pass rush. So, it was a tremendous defensive performance, I thought.
Well, and the thing is, I mean, last year they had to do so many gimmicks, right? They had to blitz a ton because they just didn't think they could play straight up, couldn't get enough pass rush, and then couldn't cover on the back end enough to stop anybody through the air. So they were, showing all these exotic fronts and sometimes sending, 5, 6, 7 guys last year.
Yeah.
This year, they're playing a lot more 4-man rush and then just covering the heck out of everybody, which is what you want to be able to do in the NFL. It's the least risky thing. If you can get pressure with 4, they always say that you're going to be in pretty good shape, especially if you're kind of your back 7 is good enough. And I think your point's a great one though. Like their front 7, the guys they have at linebacker right now with Van Ginkel and Cashman, and they used to have, Pace is having a nice year. He's a good player. And then all these pass rushers they've got. Jones has 4 sacks, right? He's got
Yeah,
two,
right.
two in each of the first 2 games.
Didn't know if he was going to make the team, for goodness sakes, and he's playing more than anybody expected him to. And it's kind of an anonymous group in there, but at least the inside guys, but they must like Harrison Phillips too. What, they give him a 3-year deal or something, right?
A 2-year, I think 2-year extension. Yeah.
2-year extension. So it is. They almost look like hand-picked guys. Like Flores is saying, okay,
I was thinking the same thing.
This guy can do this. This guy can do this. My guy Dallas Turner is not going to be the rookie of the year, defensive rookie of the year, though. Did he play yesterday? He hardly played at all, I think.
He did. I mean, he had a couple. He had the special teams blunder in the first quarter where he stepped on the end line and got him the ball at the 20 instead of the 1, and then he jumped offside like in the final, 2:20 of that game. And so the only two times I heard his name called were not in conjunction with good things. And then he looked like he hurt his knee late in the game too, so I have to watch see how that goes. So not a great game for Dallas, but otherwise the defense was give up some yards, but you're going to do that against San Francisco. What they did was made them earn almost all of it.
I never thought they were. I guess after the interception, that you kind of thought maybe they're in a little bit of trouble, but they have lost 8 straight games in Minnesota. The 49ers.
Is that right? I didn't see that.
I saw that yesterday. 8 straight games in Minnesota. So that's got to go back to what? It's got to go back to past Ticey. It's probably got to go back to the previous decade, right? So, I mean, the previous century.
Definitely.
Previous century.
Definitely doesn't go back to games in the 80s when Steve Young was tormenting them, I would suppose. But I don't know how far back that goes. I did see too. They said on the broadcast that Brock Purdy is 14-2 against the NFC, and the 2 are the Vikings in the last 11 months because they beat them last year too.
Yeah, they beat them last year.
One of their better games last year too.
Yeah, but they were more impressive yesterday. I thought they were really good, and having been on their bandwagon since April, while the rest of you guys were frigid, I'm kind of strutting around the den today with paying tribute to my own genius, because I not only thought the Lions, the Vikings were very much a playoff contender, but I have predicted that the Lions are going to fall on their rear end, return to their Lionsness, and maybe not even make the playoffs, while everybody else is picking them to win the Super Bowl. And they've now been home for 2 games, and they've stunk both games. They pulled one out last week. Yesterday, they lose at home to the mediocre Tampa Bays, right? So
yes.
It's once again, my sneaky NFL genius is coming to the fore here. I got to say that for myself. Nobody else will say that, so I have to say that.
You're right. You're right, though. You had the division pretty well pegged, at least through 2 games. You were not on the Packers. The Packers get a win yesterday without Jordan Love, which is good for them. But
did you watch any of that thing?
All they did was run the ball.
They're opposite with the Vikings. 22 of the first 24 plays were runs, and they were gashing them. And they tightened it up a little in the second half, but they just were running like fanatics. And Malik Willis looked really good handing off. He does a fine job of handing off, but they didn't have him do anything. But that surprised me. I didn't think that they could beat anybody without Love. But how about the Bears? I can't.
I watched a lot of that. Yeah.
They got to start playing. They got to let the other guy play a couple of weeks. The guy that played last year play a couple of weeks. Caleb Williams doesn't. He's terrible so far. He's been awful.
I'm watching that game and I'm like, well, why don't they let him throw the ball down the field? Like he's doing all these 2-3 yard passes, and then he throws it down the field a couple times. It's intercepted. I'm like, oh, I guess that's why he can't do it yet.
Yesterday, last week, last week I saw him on a few of those fairly long outs to the sideline. They either end up in the stands or 12 yards back in the field. He looks awful. And they drafted him first, so they're going to play him, and somehow they're 1-1, but he's been terrible. So anyway, the Vikings at this point are the class of the division. So there's no point, no doubt about it. They were really good yesterday, and San Francisco's got to be a little frustrated because really both those games the last 2 years have been the same game. They came up here and were supposed to be great, and they got I'd say they got their rear ends kicked yesterday. It was actually the score was closer than the game, I thought.
Yes, if the Vikings don't have the interception in the first half and then the Jones fumble at the 1 yard line yesterday, they probably win that game by 2 touchdowns. And it wasn't tense at the end, but they needed that last Darnold drive that got the field goal. Otherwise, that could have got pretty messy because it was 20-14 after the 49ers went
Yeah.
99 yards after the fumble. And then you're like, okay, if they don't get a first down or they don't get a drive going on this, San Francisco's
Yeah.
going to get the ball back with 5 minutes left, and if you can go down and score a touchdown, they go ahead and steal that game.
Yeah, the it's funny. I saw Craig had a good description of the play, the third down that kept that drive going. And they sneaked that Brandon Powell, that
Mm-hmm.
little guy, and you kind of wonder why he's on the team. And then every once in a while, he'll make a little third down catch on some exotic play, and he did that again yesterday. And
Yeah.
Craig's the best thing to read every day, every Sunday, every Monday after the Vikings game is Craig's 5 points in there because he always tells you something that you really didn't see, and the describing how they got that third down completion to Powell there is pretty good too. So yeah, it was a. It was a yeoman effort. I don't even know where do they go now? When are they? I don't even know who they play.
They got Houston next week, and then they got
Uh,
at Green Bay after that. Then they got the London game.
Houston here.
Yeah, Houston's here, then at Green Bay, and then the London game. So, and then after that, I think it's Detroit and the Rams out of the London game. So, it's a hard schedule, but they're better than I thought they were for sure. I don't know how. It's still hard because I don't know how much the offense holds up. I think the defense is legit. They got to stay healthy, but they're legit. How good is the offense though? Especially if Jefferson. I would think he's back next week. Sounds like it's just like a contusion, not anything worse than that. But you don't got Addison, you don't got Hawkinson. You're kind of down a lot of playmakers at this point, which made that last drive even more impressive.
Okay, here's the deal.
Okay,
we worry about they're not talented enough. They got maybe the best left tackle in football in Darisaw, one of the three best left tackles in Darisaw. They got Jefferson. Mm-hmm. They got Aaron Jones. They got O'Neal on the other side. They have on defensively, then they got the Van Ginkel. He needs a haircut, but outside of that, he's okay. And they got terrific. And Flores has got this whole defense plan. They got 4 or 5 great. They got a lot of good players. This whole idea that they were under talented has been horse manure.
Overrated, under talent.
And they got rid of. Who do you want? You want Darnold for 10 or the other guy for 45? Which
no question. No question.
Yeah. So,
it wasn't even a question before they started playing. Even if Darnold had stunk this year, that was the right move. But he's been way better than I thought he'd be.
Yeah, he's fine. So
we'll see Kirk tonight at Philadelphia. Monday night at Philadelphia is not probably the medicine he needed after week 1.
Especially if it's true that he can't plant on his Achilles foot, but it's good for him that it's a road game anyway, because after last week's stinkeroo and the idiot, as I've said about 20 times, the idiocy of drafting Penix, so that the next day, if he stinks again Monday tonight, and if their next game's a home game, they'll be wanting Penix in the middle of the first quarter. So it was one of the dumbest moves ever, but those signing him was one of the dumbest moves at first. So anyway,
unless in drafting Penix, unless they had an inkling that Achilles wasn't as good as they thought it was going to be, which would have been a real case of buyer's remorse because the draft is only like 5 weeks after free agency. So
whatever.
I don't know.
Anyway, they had the building hopping yesterday, and they played great, and they beat one of the teams that's supposed to be a favorite. So it's and the NFL's off to its usual start that you don't know who's going to win with 2 minutes to go. So it's about half the games or 2/3. So anyway. It was a nice win, and I would imagine that the folks couldn't be happier right now.
Before we move on to Lynx and Twins, I was told that the Cowboys hired Mike Zimmer to stop the run.
Ooh,
Alvin Kamara, 3 touchdowns running, another one receiving. Saints have put up more than 40 points each of the last 2 weeks.
what is going on down there? Who's
I don't
their
know.
offensive genius? Their coach is Dennis Allen, and he was a defensive guy, wasn't he? I thought he was a defensive guy.
I don't know what's going on down there. It's kind of the same personnel. It's like Derek Carr and
Derek Carr is the
Kamara's
quarterback.
been there
But
forever.
they had in the first half, they had 313 yards. I looked it up for poor old Zim, and they had set touchdowns of 70 and 57, which is passing, obviously. One was to Kamara, and another one was to a wide receiver. But they've lit it up. Where was that game played? In Dallas.
That was in Dallas.
New Orleans is in the middle of another hurricane. They got flooded again. So, but yeah, Zim was a hero after the first game last week. They didn't give up anything, and they just got killed yesterday by New Orleans at home. That Dak can when usually it's later in the season when the expectations get really hard, the Dak will stake it out for you. But that was 100,000 in Dallas. Couldn't have been happy watching that thing yesterday. And I'm sure Zim's getting killed on because they got a lot of criticism for hiring him when they had a young guy, right? There was a defensive coach that they
the guy that went that Quinn took with him, I think.
Well, anyway, it was quite the beating, to say the least. In Dallas, we all feel sad when the Cowboys get their ass kicked at home, Norm. Especially
we do.
That's Jerry's in his 80s now, and it's probably not as much fun as to see him humiliated as it used to be, but it's still pretty good.
I think there's a pretty good chance I might write a little bit about that game today as well, just for fun. I love to find the old the ex Vikings to pick on a little bit.
Yeah, especially Zim's popularity in town is not real high right now after the Mark Craig interview, which was still one of the great moments in Star Tribune history. But anyway.
Let's move on to the Twins and Lynx before we get out of here. Twins, man, they needed that one yesterday, and it wasn't looking good early, right? It was 2-0, and
they're down 2-0 for a while.
Festa gets knocked out again. Like these rookies, man, they are not pitching well or deep into games right now. But they claw back to 2-1. They get those 2 huge 2-out hits. What was Jeffers with the double.
Jeffers grinding out a hit. Jeffrey grinding out a hit there the way he's been going. He hadn't been going good. And yet he shortened up his swing and hit that ball into left field, and that was huge against a good, hard-throwing right-hander. And then who else is a warrior? We always talk about how soft they are. How about Larnick? He's out there hitting line drives. He can barely walk.
Yeah.
It would have been, he was jogging around the bases, and he's apparently got a bad foot. Looks like he might be the guy with plantar fasciitis, but they called it something else. But what are they going to do? Kepler's supposedly ready to come back. You're not going to replace Wallner, and no. I suppose maybe if Larnick's foot's bad enough, you'd have to DL him. But I don't think so. He hits the ball harder than anybody in the league.
Yeah, I know.
When he gets a fastball in the middle of the plate, he kills it. And I don't know. Kepler's history in Cleveland is that he killed it. Although this is a different Cleveland team, obviously, but they got a pitching matchup tonight. Pablo, they got to win tonight in Cleveland, and then split in Cleveland, they'll be okay. The one thing they got going is Detroit and Seattle are both 2.5 behind, and they got the tiebreaker over both of them. So they basically got 3 games to play with here. But Sunday does not forgive the fact that this team is in big trouble. Because of their pitching. Because Woods Richardson, if this was last year when they had a little bit of a cushion, they'd have him shut down. Remember, they did it with Ober last year because he was getting up to innings that he never pitched before, and they shut him down for 2 weeks. and had him go over. Actually, had him over to St. Paul pitching like 2 innings or something. And they do that with Woods Richardson too, but they don't have any option whatsoever. They got to keep running him out there. So. And he's hit the wall, man. His fastball's back down to about 92, isn't it? And
yeah, well,
and and Zebby shouldn't be here. He's not a big league pitcher. I like Festus stuff, but
Festus fine. Yeah,
he's he's of the three of them. He's the guy that's got good stuff, but he's never. Rocco's not going to let him go more than 4 1/3 at this time of year. So they got the extra reliever out there too. But the fact of the matter is, I saw it yesterday. I was watching the Tigers for 5 minutes, and since the All-Star game, their relievers got an ERA of, or since August 1st, their relievers got an ERA of 2.58. These guys are over 5. They're the worst in baseball since the All-Star game. The Twins. I saw a note. I'm not sure it was us. Gleeman had it too. That's the amount of runners that inherited runners the bullpen has scored is like historically bad. And no team ever or something has had this percentage of runs scored. So, and when you consider you got Griffin Jacks, who might be the team MVP.
Yes.
And Duran, who's been largely good, not what he was last year, but mostly good. And so the rest of them, there's got to be some bad pitching. Cole Sands has been okay too, but but it's just Alcala, he comes in yesterday and gets him out, but every once in a while, he comes in and just goes with really good stuff. All of a sudden he'll give 4 runs up in about 2 minutes. So it's a stagger to the finish line. That's for sure. And then Ober, I went over there Friday night prepared to write an ode to Ober, and then he runs out for the 7th inning, and boom, 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 when it's 1-1, and so he gets. First 4 guys get on, and Alcala gives up a home run, and they give up a 6-run inning. But that was as you say, that was a 100%. If they don't win yesterday, they're leaving here like seeing a week, boys, when you're in 4th place.
Yeah.
The Whiteys are hotter than the Twins right now. They've won 2 in a row. Whiteys have won 2 in a row.
Your column off that Ober game, by the way, was exactly what I was thinking. With the be careful what you wish for. You want Ober to pitch deeper into the games. Well, here you go. Here you go.
Right.
That's what happens.
How can anybody do it, Rocco? Oh,
taking him out. Oh, yeah, that's why. Okay, yeah, yep.
Then the one thing about baseball, you got 162 games, so you got plenty to complain about. But why did he leave Ober in? You can switch. We could go 180, no problem. Just flip her right back and go 180. But I don't know if Rocco's is unpopular among the fan base that's not social media oriented, but God, he gets killed on Twitter. There's idiots out there. Although
emails to me is like, the ones that aren't about you are about Rocco.
Yeah, the morons that I got one the other day. This guy's outraged when they're down 4 runs and they get a guy in first. They don't try to steal to create some enthusiasm. That's the trouble. That's the trouble. We have a whole generation now we got 2 generations where baseball's an afterthought. When I grew up, it was the game.
Yes, okay? And people knew the strategy.
We knew what the hell was going on. Yeah, and these idiots that love the bunt too. The one thing that's common through the generations is whichever generation is the old generation, all the time they love the bunt.
Oh yeah, love the bunt. Fundamentals.
Take the bunt and stick it in your ear. It's I will say, getting a guy from 2nd to 3rd in this 10th inning deal we do now is probably more important than it's ever been. But Bird would love that, wouldn't he?
Oh gosh,
did Bird ever that? Because the productive Albert was very big.
He did his job. He did his job. That's what
No,
he would
his
always
job
say.
was to hit a double, Bert, but but he did his job. The productive out.
Productive
Dip was
outs.
big on the productive out
He
too. He
is.
was big on
Was.
the productive out. Okay.
What?
Anyway, they go to where do they go after
They go to
well,
Boston after this. So this is
Boston, yeah.
so and Boston's
Boston
right
pretty
there.
well. Yeah, they lost again yesterday though. And Judge, after not hitting a home run in 15 games, has homered in 2 straight. So, and they beat Boston yesterday with a home run. But
Yeah.
I don't
They
know.
need to
The
win at least
Yankees,
they need to win at least one at Boston to feel okay
yes, they
about
do.
that. But yes.
Yeah, they need a 3 and 4 road. They need
Three and
a
four road trip.
three and
Yes.
four road trip, and then
Yes.
who do they play when they come home? I can't even remember.
They get the Marlins, I think, and then they end with the Orioles.
Orioles, okay. The Orioles might be stuck in second place.
Yes.
By that time
Right.
they might be. The Orioles haven't really played great for 3 months.
No.
I mean, they're good, but they're not.
No.
They're not as good as they were supposed to be.
No.
But if you're playing the Orioles at the end and they're locked in, they won't make you face
Right.
Burns. You won't have to face Burns anyway.
No, because they'll be setting up their rotation for the playoffs. Two more things really quick. One, bullpen's bad, probably because they asked them to get 12 or 15 outs in all of these non-Ober and Lopez starts. These guys have got to be gassed at this point. And what's your other option in the rotation? If your plan B was Louis Varland, he's gotten absolutely lit the last couple times he's been out. So
no, he's not. The only thing is a bullpen game really is the only option now. They don't have anybody. But hey, I saw that Justin Topa is going to have maybe have a rehire assignment. So we can only get Justin back. Only 8 months after the trade we see him. Has anybody ever seen Justin? Is there really a Justin Topa?
I couldn't tell you what he looks like. I have no idea what he looks like.
I'm not sure there is one. I think he could be a mythical character.
He's just a made-up guy. He's just a made-up guy.
They said, why'd you make that trade? Oh, we got Justin Topa. Okay, that's good.
Yeah. Wasn't for DeSclafani, that's for sure.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So anyway, there were some pretty good lines flying before the Twins won yesterday about somebody said if the plan to have DeSclafani pitch 200 innings had only worked out, it would have been fine. They would have been okay.
Right. Right.
Man, they cannot be proud of themselves in the front.
They might get.
Okay. They got the egotistic there that are probably still strutting around thinking they're geniuses, but what they did with their limited resources this year was not very wise. That's for sure.
It was more good luck than a good plan, I would say, at this point. Yeah. They're lucky that there's not one more good team in the American League. And I half jokingly said on Twitter the other day, what about Randy Dobnak? Should he make a start somewhere in here?
He is. I would give him a start before any of these other guys. I would give him a start. He might get knocked around, but he might not, too. He might hit some ground balls. But, here's the deal, though. For 3.5 months, they played way better than I thought they could. From May 1st till the middle of August, when they hit the wall, they were a good team, and I couldn't believe it. I couldn't figure out how they were that good, but because they had guys, Buxton shut down when was that? Early August?
Yeah, when he came back, it had been a month. So
and Correa got shut down before he got the All-Star.
2 months for him, almost. Yeah,
and they played even a month after they lost Correa. They played good. And then since August 17th, they're
9-17 now. I think.
Yeah, worse than
something like that.
Maybe. Anyway, they might stumble into the playoffs, and then you got, if you can set it up and you got Lopez and Ober for the first 2 games, you might have a chance to win a game. But I don't know. I don't think anybody's planning the World Series parade.
I don't think so. They were a lot better when Woods Richardson was pitching pretty well and Joe Ryan was healthy. I mean, as much as we talk about Correa and Buxton being out, the pitching was what was kind of doing it for the 3.5 months.
Well, losing Correa was great, big, huge because he was playing so good. But Joe Ryan is
Yeah.
that's the number one thing. As I said, they've played weeks without three of their 7 or 8 most important players.
Mm-hmm.
Ryan, Correa, and Buxton. So not Kepler.
No,
Kepler never comes back. It'll be
no.
too soon for me. But anyway, it's yeah, we'll see. But it is it they as a lot of people have said, the Twins management is getting what they deserve, not having any pitching. So
Yeah.
anyway, we'll see.
Lynx win at New
How
York.
about them Lynx?
They're what two?
They
They're only 2 games.
them.
They're only 2 games out of the best record, but we're probably more importantly 2 games clear of Connecticut. Now they play Connecticut tomorrow. Now the significance of that is even if you lose that game, you can still wrap up the two seed.
You don't play in the first round then, or what?
No, you still play in the first round, but you avoid probably Caitlin in the first round if you're the 2 seed because they're going to be the 6.
They probably want Caitlin. She'll fill the arena
right. They're good against Caitlin.
They'll beat Indiana.
Yeah, they beat anybody, but the point is they're playing great right now.
They shot 51% and they held New York to 39. Defensively they've been terrific and they shoot. They've been making when they make shots, man, and they make shots a lot. They got a bunch of shooters. Collier's great, but this Carlton's good, and they got a bunch of. She did a great job, idiotic job drafting, but she did a great job. Bringing in free agents. 3? They got 3 of them, right? And then they made the trade with them.
And that trade for Hines Allen was a good one
for Washington, for a rebounder from Washington. So they were with it. She didn't. She only played about 7 last night. And she only played, I think, 7 last night. So although our girl Pilley did get off the bench, I saw she didn't. She had 0 minutes, but she did get in the box score. So that's good. The fine draft choice.
Yeah,
I was leaving the Twins game the other day, and I ran into a couple of young ladies with Pilley jerseys, and I'm thinking they must be relatives. They're the only ones who know she's on the team. What do you come to watch her posture? Anyway. That's I don't know what it was, but they've been great. They've been unbelievable. They could double that 2 wins since Mayamura left playoff total.
It's your favorite stat. If they did that, you have to stop. You have to retire that stat if they go on some kind of run.
If they go run, they could win it. They could win it. I agree with Suad. This is when she was winning championships before, she had 3 Hall of Famers. Yeah. Now she got 1. Collier's going to be a Hall of Famer, but they've the supporting the players around her. They got different players who make shots along with Collier every night. It's Carlton once in a while. It's a couple of the other. They got different stars every night to go along with Collier, who's always good. So
right. Yeah, that's
Carlton, my observation anyway.
Carlton led him in scoring last night, 19, 5 for 7 from 3-point range. I mean, she's got to be one of the most improved players in the league. I mean, she was already good, but this year she's taken a leap.
Plus, you're going to be able to get a good draft choice for her a year from now when Toronto's starting, and my gal Teresa Resch wants to get a Canadian, on the team. So you can probably get them to overpay for you. Of course, if you draft like you did this year, it wouldn't do you any good. So anyway, I love this whole. When you go on the internet, for about a week ago, you were having who should be the rookie of the year, Caitlin Clark or Angel Reese? Well, it's never been a contest. Okay, no. I'm an Angel Reese fan because she rebounds and she plays a lot harder than people gave her credit for, and she's she goes to the Met Gala, so we don't like her. But the fact that Caitlin Clark has been a cinch to be the rookie of the year since the second month of the season. For goodness sakes, why do they bring it up? Yesterday she was great.
We got to have a controversy.
Yeah, well, we like to have somebody. I don't know. I thought our guy Schefter reached a What was his? What did he come up with yesterday? I saw that. Oh, damn! I was going to write it down. I forgot to, but
That's okay.
when it was something. Boy, this is being done for a hit. San Francisco really wanted Jefferson.
Oh,
You know, that was the big scoop when the day started. And then San Francisco reached out for Jefferson. There is a good old this will get me some hits, even though it's complete crap, because there was never a chance they were going to trade him to San Francisco for
no way. Yeah, the team they're trying to become. Let's give them our best player. That would have been the thinking right then and there.
Plus, San Francisco's got to be so far over the cap. It's unbelievable. So, but
if not this year, then eventually, because they're only paying Brock Purdy $1 million a year right now. When that changes to $40 million a year, they might have some harder decisions to make about the rest of their team.
Maybe Trey Lance will be more experienced playing in WFL or someplace, and they'll be able to bring him back. I'd forgotten he was the third overall, and they gave up 3 or 4 draft picks for him.
Wow. And they're still that good. Imagine if they hadn't done that. And they'd actually held on to all those other picks. They might have won a Super Bowl somewhere in here instead of just getting so close.
And everybody be ready for next Saturday when Iowa comes in. The first team to 10 wins. It'll be great.
Yes. Two straight shutouts. Rhode Island and Nevada.
Nevada wasn't supposed to be that bad, they wrapped them up. And now the Iowa comes in and they have a terrible offense again. So that'll be the over and under on that one. Last year was like 29 or something.
Yeah, it was in the 20s, I think.
And
they still didn't make it.
It'll probably be 32 or 3 this time. His parents to replace his son. He was so bitter he had to replace his son. He hired some aged, old-time offensive coordinator who had been fired about 9 other places. I can't remember who it was, but their offense still stinks. So anyway, just like I gave you the Vikings over the 49ers, Gophers will beat Iowa too. So we'll get all excited, and then they'll lose to somebody bad or something.
They shouldn't.
Yeah,
might be good. 2 pretty good defenses in town, though. If the last couple of weeks are any indication with the Vikings and the Gophers, and our Loons won too, Patrick. It was an embarrassment of riches weekend.
They did
for about 36 hours. Enjoy it while it lasts.
The capital of American sports, right here.
That's all we do is win. All right, Patrick. We'll see you next week.
Bye.